accused are denied any right to an attorney and may not question the authority of this tribunal.
So we can't ask why you're doing this now.
At the conclusion of this tribunal, I will issue a fair and swift verdict.
Right. Of course you will.
Colonel, are we being charged with doing our job?
The charges will be defined as I hear your testimony. Now, Lieutenant Baird, begin with the last time we saw each other.
The trial of Kilo Squad was the court-martial of Lieutenant Damon Baird and Privates Augustus Cole, Garron Paduk, and Onyx Guard Cadet Sofia Hendrik. The squad was tried with disobeying orders and going rogue during the destruction of Halvo Bay. 6 weeks after Emergence Day, during the destruction of Halvo Bay, Kilo Squad was assigned to assist at the Museum of Military Glory, which was being targeted by Locust forces. Kilo Squad witnessed General Garron wiping out every gear that was guarding the museum. This is when Baird contacted Colonel Ezra Loomis seeking guidance. Loomis told Baird to kill Garron and hold the museum. However, Private Paduk tried to warn Loomis that Garron was responsible for the fall of Groznia and couldn't be stopped after the Grozny army threw everything they had at him and still weren't able to take him down. Sofia Hendrik suggested to Loomis that they use the light mass missile to kill Garron, but Loomis dismissed the idea immediately and told the squad that he didn't want to hear from any of them until Garron was dead. After losing contact with Loomis, the squad witnessed Garron and his army advancing and discussed using the missile. Hendrik mentioned that the missile is classified, but there was one in Halvo Bay and that the inventor, Professor Elliot, teaches at the academy. She then mentions to Baird that in order to fire the missile, they would need to get the targeting beacon, launch codes, personally activate the missile on site, and get everything approved by command. Private Paduk then attempts to contact Control to get approval but receives no response. The squad then agreed to go ahead to the Halvo Bay Military Academy to retrieve the targeting beacon. After fighting a wave of Locust, Kilo Squad was able to retrieve the targeting beacon, a bot they nicknamed Troy, and left the academy to get the launch codes from Professor Elliot's home. When the squad arrived, they found Elliot's body slumped over his desk. Despite being well protected in his heavily fortified mansion, Elliot presumably panicked when the Locust began attacking his home and decided to end his own life with a snub pistol. While the bot retrieved the launch codes, the squad defended it from a large wave of Locusts, including a berserker. After successfully retrieving the launch codes, Kilo Squad headed to Onyx Point, which was a cog naval fortress that housed the light mass missile. Kilo Squad arrived on the beach of Onyx Point and began fighting the Locusts that were occupying the base. After making their way in, they located the missile and began to activate it. The squad then received a message from Loomis that Omega Squad had knocked out the Cedar, blocking comms, and Loomis was leading a counterattack on the museum. Baird then reluctantly contacts Loomis to inform him that they were at Onyx Point and had just activated the light mass missile. Loomis angrily cuts off Baird and informs him that the light mass missile was sitting in its silo for a reason. Paduk tried to warn Loomis that he had no idea what he was up against, but Loomis dismissed Garron as just a grub who killed a bunch of worthless indies. Paduk then warns him that he is going to get himself and all of his men killed. Loomis then orders Baird to arrest Paduk, but changes his order to having Sofia arrest Paduk and Baird if they tried to resist. Kilo then picked up a transmission from Marcus Phoenix, who was a member of Omega 2 Squad, who informed Control that they were pinned down 2 blocks from the museum and needed an evac. Marcus was informed over comms that a King Raven can be sent in an hour, but Marcus insisted that they don't have time. Cole then mentions to the squad that they could be there a lot sooner to save them. Everyone agrees to help Omega 2, and Baird proceeds to finish arming the light mass missile. After returning to the mainland, Kilo fought their way through Old Town and the museum's square rooftops, receiving multiple distress messages from Omega and messages about Loomis's impending counterattack. After reaching a vantage point of the museum, Kilo was contacted by Loomis, who asked for their position. Baird was forced to admit that they were about to fire the light mass missile at Garron against orders, insisting that if they didn't, everyone in Halvo Bay was going to die. Loomis stated that the weapon was being saved by smarter men than them for a purpose and threatened to have Kilo tried and shot if they fired it. With the rest of Kilo in agreement, Baird stated that he'd see Loomis in court and suggested that he take cover. Baird fired the missile, destroying the Museum of Military Glory. After receiving word that Omega 2 was clear, Kilo was attacked by Locust reinforcements. After they fended them off, Loomis arrived in a King Raven and arrested the squad for their actions. After being arrested, Kilo Squad was transported to the Halvo Bay courthouse for an immediate trial. Baird requested 10 minutes to make sure General Garron was dead, but Loomis refused. In the courtroom, Loomis declared that they were denied the right to an attorney and couldn't question the authority of the tribunal. Loomis ordered Baird to begin his testimony. Baird described how they tried to help a convoy in Old Town before being sent to the museum after discovering the convoy destroyed. He then explained how they helped the Onyx Guard Infantry Squad Black 4 defend the museum, only to see that all the gears protecting it had been killed by Karn. Baird then described Kilo's argument with Loomis over the threat from Karn and using the light mass missile to kill him, leading to their choice to disobey orders when Loomis wouldn't listen. After Baird finished his testimony, Loomis questioned Sofia Hendrik on what would convince an Onyx Guard cadet to steal one of the COG's most powerful weapons. Sofia protested that she had been against it, earning her ridicule from Paduk. She then argued that Paduk should show her and the army he volunteered for some respect, but Paduk pointed out that he had tried that and it got him put on trial. As the testimony continued, the Locusts were getting closer. Some Onyx Guards rushed out to help, but Loomis continued the trial. Sofia explained that she was an Academy cadet and had to know if her friends were okay before describing the events at Halvo Bay Military Academy, including how all of the cadets had been slaughtered. With Sofia done, Loomis turned to Paduk and questioned if he was there as Major Paduk of the UIR or Private Paduk of the COG. Paduk responded that he was whichever answer Loomis liked least. Loomis declared that while the Open Arms program may have given Paduk a COG uniform, Loomis and Paduk remained enemies. When Paduk suggested that they settle it like enemies, an Onyx Guard beat him down until Baird and Loomis ordered them to stop. Loomis commented that the Grozny weren't known for treating prisoners well and sarcastically suggested that Paduk knew nothing about that, to which Paduk implied that he did. Noting that Paduk didn't seem like a man who followed orders, Loomis questioned why Paduk would even follow Baird, suggesting that he had ulterior motives in wanting to see the fabled mansions of Halvo Bay. Paduk described the squad's missions to the Seahorse Hills to get the launch codes from Professor Elliot's mansion. Loomis turned his attention to Private Augustus Cole, noting that he had been atypically quiet up until that point. As Cole started to speak, the Locust burst into the courtroom, launching a surprise attack that killed several Onyx Guards. Cole grabbed a lancer and used it to block a Locust attempting to kill him with a chainsaw bayonet. As the Locust was cutting through Cole's lancer, Loomis shot and killed the Locust with his bolt-on pistol. The proceedings then resumed despite the attack. Loomis then questioned whether Cole had listened to his crashball coach from time to time and admitted to not being a fan of pretend war when Cole corrected the name. Loomis requested that Cole unburden his mind by talking about how he was fighting a real war. Cole explained the events of Onyx Point, angering Loomis as the facility was supposed to be classified. Loomis was left enraged by Kilo's audacity, but the nearby Locust activity resulted in part of the ceiling caving in on them. An Onyx Guard captain urged Loomis to evacuate and postpone the trial, but Loomis refused and ordered the captain to return to fighting. Though Baird declared the situation crazy, Loomis refused to stop and stated that he was waiting on Baird to finish his testimony. Baird testified that they returned to Old Town to launch the light mass missile on the museum, where they figured Karn would be waiting after Omega took out his Cedar. Baird described how Kilo received Loomis's order to stand down and fired the light mass missile anyway. After Baird's testimony ended, Loomis announced that he had reached a final verdict and asked for last words. Paduk declared that men like Loomis were why he fought the COG, while Sofia and Cole reminded Loomis that they had saved a lot of people, including Loomis. After being prompted, Baird acknowledged that Loomis might have a point, as the light mass missile was designed to save millions of people while Kilo saved around 1,000. Before Loomis could fire, the Locust burst into the courtroom again in overwhelming numbers. As Loomis fired at the Locust with his pistol, he was grabbed by a Locust drone. Paduk grabbed a sniper rifle and hesitated between shooting Loomis or the drone, but chose to save Loomis's life. Loomis was shocked but quickly recovered and fled the courtroom. As Kilo fought through the courthouse to escape, they encountered Loomis again and teamed up together to reach a nearby King Raven, though Baird worried that they were escaping only to have Loomis execute them later. At the plaza for the Tyrant Dead, Kilo and Loomis encountered Karn, who survived the light mass missile and destroyed the King Raven. Kilo and Loomis worked together to kill Karn's Mount Shibboleth, and Loomis executed the badly injured Karn with his pistol as Kilo argued about what to do with the Locust General. After killing Karn, Colonel Loomis pulled Lieutenant Baird aside and revealed that he had dropped all the charges against Kilo Squad. However, for Baird's actions, Loomis demoted him from lieutenant to private and declared that Baird would never be an officer again, which Baird accepted. Loomis attempted to make peace with Paduk after he saved his life, but Paduk refused. Kilo Squad was now free from all charges.